Right, welcome everyone to another episode of the Love Island cast. I am Chris Phelps and my co-host is Mr. Dave Horrocks.
Hey there, Chris. Here we are again.
We are indeed, and what a 24 hours it's been in the Love Island villa, Dave. So let's just get down to it. What have you seen? What have you liked? What have you disliked? And where do you still stand on good old Amy?
Oof, well, I mean, how many degrees can we spin around again? So it seemed like a less explosive episode tonight, didn't it? But there was still quite a lot going on. So at the end of the last night's episode, we got the news, we got a text that they had to vote out the least compatible couples. Now, I'd probably just missed it that they had to vote for two. I think when we were speaking yesterday, I had it in my head they were just going to vote for the least compatible couple. So I'd gone for, and I think I'd gone for Lucy and Joe. I think I said they'd have a good chance of being that last couple, and you'd said Anton and Elma, hadn't you? And as it was two, so they were both, in that final two to be, one of them's going to be voted off.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. You're right. We both got it right. I was very happy. I know it was one of them where I could only see Anton and Elma because it just felt like they were coupling up just to couple up, and everything they were saying was just a case of, we've got to say this to keep us in the villa. Now, I still think they're going to go because I still think there's too much drama involved. But let me say that again. I did think they were going to go until I went on the app, and the good old producers, Dave, have pulled out of the bag that you actually just vote for one person out of that couple if you would like. So I reckon I pretty much going to put my house on the fact that I think Joe's going, Dave.
Oh, yeah. We can put a lot of money on that, can't we? And, it seems a bit unfair on Elma to me. She's only just got there, so of course we don't warm to her as much because we haven't seen her on screen that much. It wouldn't surprise me if the producers did some other twist to keep Elma on, especially what's brewing up. We'll get onto in a minute what's happening between Maura, Tom and Elma. So I think this whole thing feels a little bit engineered just to get rid of Joe. Yeah,
it does, to be fair. It does, because when they vote a couple like that and they go couple for couple, it's usually the whole couple. And I genuinely was like, well, and I'll be honest with you, I went on the app, I was like, right, Joe, see ya. And I did vote for Elma because I want Lucy to stay and I want Anton to stay in just for pure comedy purposes. So I genuinely did vote them. And I think, Dave, the consensus is going to be, there was a poll online I saw on just someone's Twitter. They weren't affiliated with the actual show, but they straight away come up with, it was like 3% out of the people who voted wanted Joe to stay. So I think if that is anything to go by as a consensus, then I think good old Joe is definitely on his way.
Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? I mean, I was playing devil's advocate yesterday and saying that, I could half get where he's coming from. But, if you read the sentiment from social media, I think there's a lot of people just coming out and saying he's being very controlling. And I think where my empathy ran out was where he didn't quite give Lucy an ultimatum the other night, but he did say, she should be spending more time with the girls and less time with Tommy. And at the time I just thought, you know what, that's too far. That is all right. Get your insecurities out there if you need to, discuss them. But, telling her what to do, I think that was a bit too much. But yeah, I think Joe's gone for me. I think Anton, he is that David Brent, he is kind of funny. And I think, us warming to him, I think the general public have as well. So I can see a lot of people voting for him. But like I say, it strikes me as just that bit unfair to get rid of someone who's only just got there.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think it can tell whichever narrative you want, Dave. If she does stay, there might be a bit more on-screen time for her. We'll have to see about that. But again, moving over as well, is we got the Anna and Maura. And I've got to say, Dave, Chris Phelps is now going to have to rename himself the 180 Kid. I'm off the Maura. I'm off the Maura train, Dave. Because how the fuck can she slag off Elma for showing an interest in Tom when she has gone through nearly every bloke in the house and given them doughy eyes and flicking her eyelashes at everyone? It's absolute bullshit. And I'm calling her out, Dave, so I've gone right off her now.
As you climb off the Maura bus, it sounds slightly scandalous, that, doesn't it? No implications there at all. I'm sure it's not an exclusive bus. I'm half getting on it myself, to be honest. Not that I like her. I think she's outrageous, but she's so funny. she just does not give a shit. And there's no sense of irony in her at all when she's moaning on to Molly May.
Yeah.
And saying, "Oh, you wouldn't do that. Ooh, hang about."
Yeah.
That's exactly what you were doing. And in fact, to a much lesser degree. Elma, she said, Tom's not really her type, but she's just had a chat and does feel the connection. I think she said they're equally the same, when asked about what she feels about Tom and Anton, which I'm not quite, I know what she's trying to say, but they're equally the same. I don't get that, but yeah. But she is funny, Maura, isn't she? I mean, she's not backward about coming forward, and even at that date. So the first dates that Maura and Anna went on, there was no real connection there. But then they swapped, and then there seemed to be a connection on both tables. But when she's saying to Tom straight away, "Would you like to jump into bed with me?" It's like, hang about. Yeah. You've just been voted off. You thought, until Tommy uttered the words Molly May, you thought you were getting picked. And now you're asking this other bloke who you've just met to jump into bed with you and give you a cuddle. And I thought Tom handled it quite well, and he said, she said she needs a cuddle, and he says, "I'm quite good at cuddling," or something like that. I thought he handled it in a fairly chilled way. But, yeah, I mean, she's fairly outrageous, isn't she?
Yeah, really strange girl. And like you said, no sense of irony, no sense of common decency, basically. She's gone around for days saying she wouldn't jump on Tommy when blatantly she has, and she's made a pass at him and everything. So, yeah, I wasn't kicking off. I was just peeing myself thinking, you are fucking deluded, aren't you? And she was proper angry and aggressive with it. I can't believe it. What the fuck is she doing? And all this. And I'm like, whoa. Just slow down there. You can't. You've got to practice what you preach, haven't you? If someone else is willing to do the same thing you are, and I don't think Elma did anything wrong. It was more Tom. Tom got asked the question, and he said Elma. So what is wrong with that? He was asked, he was under pressure. The other lad, Jordan, I can't really take to. I know they're both from Manchester, but I genuinely, it's just, I've got to say... Just before
we go on to Jordan, though, so did you not pick up on the fact that Tom is actually from Leeds?
Yes, but he lives in Manchester. Yeah, he sounds like he's Mancunian.
Yeah, so why... But he introduces himself as being from Manchester.
Yeah.
So my bullshit-ometer just sort of goes off the scale a bit there. It's like, well, no, if you're from Leeds, you're from Leeds. And then you live in different places at different times, but it was just one of those little alarm bells that I thought, hang about, that strikes me as a little bit odd, that.
Yeah.
But, sorry, I cut across you there. What were you saying about Jordan?
Yeah, I can't really take to it at the moment. I don't know what it is about him. He seems like he hasn't got much of a personality. Now, whether that's just purely the screen time, I'm not completely convinced at all. But I've got to say one thing, and this happened in the last series. If somebody else comes on and says they are a fucking model, I'm sorry, but I did put a tweet out saying, well, who the fuck's going to wear the Fred Perry shirt in the Very catalogue? Because what is going on with all these people, models? I think they say models, a social media influencer. It's just a posh way of saying I haven't got a fucking job and I live off these odd photo shoots. I've done the extra work. I've done photo shoots. I am by far from away a pissing model day. Jesus Christ. I did electrical testing equipment. That's where you're going to see me as a builder.
Get your builder's arse out.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, they did say my hands are actually, even though I'm like 6'2", my hands are quite feminine, really. I haven't got a massive hands, so at some point they had to do a bit of trickery on there. Was doing some of the wiring stuff, but yeah, that's the best they can. I know, just admit that on the air. But anyway,
it's a good job we're not releasing this podcast to thousands of people, so that's fine that you've got girly hands. It's quite fine. You just moisturise nicely.
I don't know what it is, Dave, but yeah, it's bizarre because they say this, and I know that industry. It's like football or anything. You've got to be the 1%, Dave. You've got to have a really extraordinary look, and you've got to be in the right place at the right time. Someone's just got to believe in what they see, like a footballer is. I mean, football is talent, but they're all models, aren't they, of some sort? And it's like, oh, kiss my ass. You know, I don't believe it. The lad Eyal, who was in it a couple of years ago, he was in Foot Asylum the other day modelling, and I've seen some of the others who do the rounds on these reality shows like Geordie Shore, X on the Beach, all stuff that I've watched. And it's the same guy, and that's where they make the money, but they don't make a career out of it, Dave, at all. They really few and far. I think the only one I think I've seen a lot of is Danny, who I mentioned previously, JD Sports. But he won't be able to live off a JD Sports campaign. He'll get like 3 or 4, 5, even 10 grand for that campaign, but that's not enough to live on. You know, so
yeah, and I think what you're missing as well is usually someone's career, it tells you a little bit about them. You know, so Anna, she's a pharmacist. You got Michael, the fireman. You know, it tells you a little bit about their personality. But if someone's a model or a social media influencer, brilliant. So you stand there and have your picture taken and you change your clothes.
yeah.
I mean, what you're saying, I guess, is slightly different, is that they probably do something else to make ends meet, and they do a little bit of modelling. But yeah, it does seem a bit odd, you know, to put two in at the same time that both claim to be from Manchester. It was like, come on, just spread them out a bit.
Dave, yeah, you're right. You're totally right. And what I would say is, having met a lot of these people, and one of the reasons I don't do it is because you are the lowest of the low in these scenarios. But most of the people who have these jobs, David, I'm not exaggerating, this is men and women, most of them, you know what they are? Because they can work, they're self-employed painters and decorators. Because, I'm not lying to you, I'm going off on a slight segue, but genuinely, they do jobs where they have to, and they have to do that because I must have met half a dozen men and women who say what they have to do is because they've got to do these shoots at the drop of a hat, and I totally understand that. That's the only sort of consistent work they can get at times. And I'm not saying all of them do, but most of them do, Dave. I couldn't do it, you could do it. We have proper full-time jobs. Imagine going into work saying, oh, tomorrow I've got to be in London. You're not going to get the day off at the drop of a hat, and you're certainly not going to have any holidays left, are you? So you live in a world where you're paying it day by day, really. It's like an old-school mentality in that world. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, I've gone off on a slight Love Island segue there. Apologies, everyone. But yeah,
man's got a lovely chiseled chin, though, hasn't he?
Yeah,
you can sort of see him doing all right for himself in the modelling gig.
Yeah, you can, to be fair. And I'm sure Jordan does well out of it. He's got the body and everything. I don't think they've all got the bodies on there, men and women. But it's just interesting to see that. And when someone says it, I'm just sick of hearing I'm a model. It's like, oh, fuck off. You know what I mean?
He did seem to have a connection with Anna, didn't he? And I think Anna, you know, almost being voted out of the villa, which is, let's face it, I know it's a bit of a pressure cooker, but it's not bad, is it? It's not like trying to make ends meet and pay the mortgage and whatever. So I think it might have been a bit of a shock to her system. So she realises, well, actually, if I don't get up off my arse and start trying to make a connection with someone, I'm going to be going pretty soon. So I think something's finally shaken in her, and you might see a little bit more personality coming out, I think.
Yeah, and that's nice. If she's a nice girl, well, fair enough. She deserves all the happiness or whatever happiness she has in the villa, whatever's going to go on. But Dave, let's move on slightly. Now, there was a harrowing scene yesterday. In the episode before, episode 11 of our podcast, we did mention about Amy and the slapped ass face she pulled when Lucy got picked by Joe. Now, we couldn't work out. Some said it was a theory that it was because Joe's controlling her, that she was pulling her face because of that, because she was hoping that Tommy would pick her. But obviously, Joe went first. And some were just saying she was being a slapped ass. I'd like to think it's the second explanation. But Dave, she didn't pull a funny face when then night lights were on last night, didn't they? When the lights went down.
Well, I think it was an interesting segue. We were talking about moisturising your hands and keeping them nicely lubricated there. So
I was thinking more along the lines of something I sent you with Phoenix Nights, the Tommy Dick Fingers outtakes.
Curtis Dick Fingers.
Allegedly, yeah.
I thought, I tell you, it was interesting. I mean, it's like, so obviously something was going on there. We don't need to speculate. I think we all know, that Curtis and Amy were just having a kind of a deep discussion about a wide variety of issues and bringing lots of people in. So they were having a bit of a mass debate.
That is terrible. Fucking hell. Terrible.
But what,
I'll give you that. That was good.
I could see you like, what the hell is he going with this?
Brilliant.
But what I found interesting was, I felt like I was watching something where I'm back at school, where all the boys are like crowded round and trying to get it out of him.
No, Dave. Go on. Sorry.
And Michael's like, you look a bit relieved. And he's like, well, I couldn't possibly say, and then, Amy's, equally holding court with the girls. And, Maura's like, what? Even if you were really horny, you wouldn't sleep with him. As if she's just said like, oh, I never drink cow's milk or something. She was just totally puzzled by that. So sorry, what were you going to say there?
Sorry, coming to my head. Apologies for that. But people have put the references up anyway. We're just waiting for him to go, tell me more. That's what it felt like we were watching Grease. Yeah. He's just waiting for Curtis to put a leather jacket on it to go into song, Did she put up a fight? It's like, oh, come on.
It seems a little bit rapey, that line, doesn't it? Now you just sing it back to me there. Did she put up a fight? What was all that about?
Might be a bad choice of words.
Interesting one of all the lyrics. You just put out that.
I didn't want to go into singing the whole song, which are pretty much no, Dave. That's even more worrying.
You and your moisturised girly hands.
Don't mess with Danny Zuko, Dave. Oh no, it was just a bizarre episode. And once the new guys have gone in, they've gone to, we've got the vote. We find out at the end what the score is, and it's a case of everyone's got to vote. Now, I do think that we're going to get another turn in. Now, Maura did mention, didn't she, Tommy? She did say, look, I still like him. Look at him. I still really like him. But, he's moved on sort of thing. So I think she would still, there's still going to be something there. But I do think your theory from the last episode regarding Joe going, then I think Tommy could potentially just do another Tommy 560-degree turn and go back with Lucy. I think once Joe's out the way, I think you might see that relationship blossom again.
Yeah, and I almost think Tommy believes what he's saying. So when he says to every girl, that he's got a connection with them, I kind of believe him. And they had their first kiss tonight, didn't they? And it seemed to be the loudest thing. I don't know whether the producers were turning the volume up there, but it was certainly a sloppy one. And I just don't see it with them two at all. And I still don't really buy that Molly has this connection that she says she's got with him. I just don't see it. What I saw was she felt threatened that she was going to get kicked out of the villa. And then also probably her ego took a bit of a bruising, that how dare another woman come and, take my man off me. What was it she said? She said she likes competition, but only when she knows she'll win. So yeah, I think that is weak, that relationship. And like I say, it was kind of nice to see Tommy a little bit more relaxed. And I can imagine, I felt the weight just lift off his shoulders, broad as they are. To not be worried about this whole triangle, another triangle. He went from one to another, and just get on with the person who he's coupled up with. But did you notice that when he was lying on the bed with Molly May, hand on her arse, he did have a pillow across his crotch.
Yeah.
Just in case. So that did make me laugh. But yeah, I could see Joe's definitely going to go. I'll be amazed if he doesn't. And so I think Tommy and Lucy, that isn't gone. Someone said it, when they were all going to bed, someone said, oh, no funny business. And Maura was saying, like, save that for me, Tom. And it's just like, you know what? Maura. She'd said, didn't she? Maybe I'll talk about sex less because boys in here don't seem to like it. No, I think it's generally everyone. It's not Fuck Island. Right? If it was Fuck Island, you'd be winning Maura, I think. But it's not. And so I think people are looking for a little bit, more than just something that's there on a plate. And so I think Tom will probably edge towards Elma if he has to make that decision tonight. And Elma doesn't go off home.
Yeah, good point. Just before we go, as we've mentioned a couple of times now, we're really humbled and can't thank all you listeners out there for downloading, praising the podcast. We had an email yesterday from one of our listeners, a gentleman called Rob Matthews over in Ireland, and I'm going to read it out. He's given me permission to read the email out. And here we go. Gentlemen, listening from the west of Ireland here, and I love the podcast. Frigging love it. So much better than the official one. I wasn't planning on Love Island taking over my life, but it has, and here I am, a grown man in his 30s planning my entire day around being at home for 9 o'clock. It's a terrible sickness. Thank God it'll be over in 6 or 7 weeks, but what a 6 or 7 weeks it'll be, Rob. And then he's put, P.S. I'm totally for Lucy, Maura, Michael, Yuanda and Curtis. People I'm totally against is Amy, Joe, Amber and Anna. So, Rob, thank you so much for that. That's brilliant that you've emailed in, and me and Dave are over the moon. And we've had some cracking responses on Twitter, haven't we, Dave, as well, of various different people praising the show, actually. And I'm not saying we are any better or different. We give it from our own honest opinion, but quite a few saying they prefer this podcast to the official one. That's obviously your opinion. We just appreciate any nice comments.
Yeah, no, it is. It's lovely. And look, I listen to the official one as well. But you have to realise, because they're so closely affiliated, they can't say a lot of things. I know a lot of people had some negative criticism because Sharif went and it was like no one spoke of it again. So, whereas we say what we want.
You're fucking damn right we do, David. It's our podcast and we'll do what we want. But no, thank you guys. And if you can get on your podcast hosting site and give us a review, we really appreciate all feedback. And at the moment, just as a bit of news, we've created this podcast in under 3 weeks. We are already in the top 5 Love Island podcasts on iTunes, Dave, and there's a lot of them. So we honestly can't thank you enough, guys. Really, really brilliant work from everyone.
Yeah, no, hopefully, people are enjoying it as much as we are. And even though we created this initially as to have those opposing views, and I've ended up just swimming along with the tide, it's just been brilliant so far. And we've still got a way to go, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. A long way. And I can't wait, Dave. So thank you to you as always, Dave, as well. And I was trying to think of something I could lead us out with, guys, but I don't think there's anything really. It's just maybe... I don't know, actually, Dave. I've lost it now. What's going to say?
I thought, he's prepared here.
I'm a fuck. See you next time.
Brilliant.